Greetings, my name is Walter Wilson. I'm a practicing attorney with over 50 years of experience in the area of federal estate tax and federal estate tax planning. I want to talk today about federal estate tax. Federal estate tax is an entirely voluntary tax. You choose whether or not the next generation will pay any tax. Neither you nor your spouse will pay any tax under our tax code. Most people feel that because they have a net worth that does not exceed the combined federal exemption equivalents, that there is no estate tax. Well, you really need to rethink this. The current law sunsets on January 1st of 2026, and without congressional intervention, the current exemption equivalents are going to be cut by at least 50% to $5 million per taxpayer. Now it becomes critical that you consider some proactive planning. When I said that federal estate tax is an entirely voluntary tax, and I said that neither you nor your spouse would ever pay it, but who will pay it if the estate exceeds the federal and state exemption equivalents? These are important decisions. If you are proactive, you can avoid the federal estate tax at the second death and not subject the next generation to liquidating assets. Because what are they going to liquidate to pay tax? They're going to liquidate those assets that can be sold, leaving them in general illiquid assets. And some of the things you might not know is that there are at least 17 states that don't recognize the federal exemption equivalents, which means even though you might have the exemption equivalents, and even though you may never have used them, your state may not recognize them, which means even with the exemption equivalents, you could have a state succession or inheritance tax. You need to check with your lawyer or your CPA as to whether or not your state has a recognition of the federal exemption equivalents. You also need to ask yourself, is there longevity in your family? Is there longevity on both sides of the family? Remember, we don't have a tax triggered for federal estate tax until the second death. But if you have a longevity in your side of the family of 93, 94, 95, your CPA needs to check the federal longevity tables to see if the expected date of death for you and your spouse, what it is. And you work backwards. Go to that date and see what your net worth is going to look like that date. That's where your financial advisor comes into critical play, because you're going to say, all right, here's my net worth today. Well, that's the wrong place to start. You need to start at the second death. And so you talk to your financial advisor and say, okay, what is my net worth going to look like in 30 years or 40 years or 20 years? And that is where the collaborative effort between your CPA, your lawyer, your financial advisor comes into critical play. Because under our law, you can avoid federal estate tax with proper and proactive planning today. For example, I see many people who have life insurance owned by irrevocable life insurance trusts. Well, they may have been sitting around for years and years, and the laws have changed. You need to see if your state has a statute called the decanting statute to see if you can upgrade the life insurance, the irrevocable life insurance trust, and bring it into this century. And you'll find that most states do have these statutes that allow you to do it. The second thing is we've got some new technology called the Life Insurance Limited Partnership that allows not only the avoidance of federal estate tax on life insurance death benefits, but it allows the insured to access the cash values, which is not an option with life insurance limited partnerships. The next thing is valuation discounting. If you are willing to make gifts of limited partnership units and family limited partnerships or in other entities to a trust for your children, you can take advantage of valuation discounts, which can almost double your current federal exemption equivalents. So when I say you have the opportunity to avoid federal estate tax at the next generation, it exists today and it's statutory. I hope this helps you in rethinking your net worth, because on January 1 of 2026, the current law is scheduled to sunset without congressional extension. I hope you've enjoyed this session, and I look forward to talking to you again.